Hello, this is Emma Matthews from defeatburnout.com. One of the things that I found when I was recovering from burnout is that there's just so many myths out there about what it does mean, what it doesn't mean. And actually, there were a lot of myths and lies that I told myself, which looking back probably slowed down my recovery process. So today I wanted to share with you just 6 myths about burnout to get started with, and what my reality of each of those 6 things was. So the first one really is that burnout is a sign of weakness. It's just not true. And I heard that from the medical professionals that I was around and that I got advice from, but also from my own research. So the reality is that burnout tends to hit high performers, people who are really pushing themselves to that next level, and they just push beyond all boundaries that normally people would look at and respect or not be physically or mentally able to push through. So often the people who are hit the hardest by burnout are the people who are the strongest. So that's a complete myth. The second one is that if you experience burnout, then you're broken for life. That's it. Something's broken, it's never going to come back. I must admit, this was probably the biggest limiting belief that I had in the burnout process. I can remember that when I went to go see a psychiatrist, he told me, it's just temporary, you'll get better over time, you're going to get a little bit stronger every single day. And I just didn't believe it. I thought, I'm broken, I'm never going to be the same again. And actually that was true. I would say that burnout has changed me, but for the better. I've come out the other side more empathetic and more aware of what I need to do and be to perform at my best. So yeah, you're definitely not broken for life. The third one that was really playing on my mind was that, I'll never be able to get a job again. I'm unemployable because I've now got burnout and its linked conditions on my medical records. And actually, again, I found that just wasn't the case. I had plenty of offers to come back to my workplace. They were happy to support me to come back, but it was my own personal decision not to go back because I realised that I would be putting myself back into the environment that I got sick in. And I wasn't confident that I had changed enough at that point in time to put different boundaries in place that wouldn't mean it would happen again. So the right path for me was becoming self-employed and really setting up a working structure where I had control of my time. But for other people, going back into the corporate world, even in the same position, can work as long as you've changed the things that caused you to burn out in the first place. Otherwise, the cycle is just likely to repeat again. The fourth one that I think we've probably all heard is, you're just a bit tired, you need to have a good night's sleep, you need to rest, or maybe have a few days off work. If it's really burnout, then a good night's sleep or even a week off work isn't going to cut it. Generally, if it's a severe burnout, it's been building for a long time. Your body will be in such a state of physical and emotional exhaustion that takes its time to work out of your system. But certainly earlier on in the process, things like more sleep and rest can stop you getting to that point that burnout hits. So that's true. But once you're in it, sadly, it takes far more than a good night's sleep to come out the other side. But with time, you do. Then the fifth one that I hear quite often is, burnout just means that person can't cope with stress. They've got ill because they just can't cut it. And again, it's a complete falsehood. Often the people who get burnt out are ones who've dealt with such high levels of stress for such extended periods of time that they've been in a complete state of adrenal fatigue. They perhaps didn't even realise, and then one day their body and mind have gone, stop, you've not listened to all of the signs that I've given you, now I'm going to force you to stop. And that's when we start seeing things like can't get out of bed, can't stop crying, just not functioning. You've been under so much stress for so long that your body is shutting down to support you. So actually, people who burn out, quite often they're very strong at dealing with stress. They've just had too much for too long, and they've perhaps not had the coping strategies. Something that I really like to visualize is we're like a bucket, and stress comes in like water and fills up. What we actually need are holes in that bucket to make sure that we never overflow, we never go into burnout. So it could be that a hole for you is doing some yoga, or making sure that you don't take work home on a weekend, or that you practice mindfulness. We all need something that's going to create those holes in the bucket to let our stress dissipate. Then the next one, number 6, and this is a sad one. There is a myth that burnout just won't happen again. And the reality is, unless you change how you manage yourself and the environment that you're in, and you have support, it can reoccur. And it's something that happened to me. I had a really severe burnout a few years ago, but then I also had it reoccur on a smaller scale. And that to me was just an acknowledgement that I'd slipped back into old habits. I wasn't in the right environment for me. I wasn't prioritizing my self-care anymore. So absolutely, burnout can be once and done if you make lasting changes that mean that you're not in the situation that caused the trigger. If you don't make those changes, then it can be a reoccurring cycle of feeling good, pushing yourself too much, burning out, having to stop, and then we go around the merry-go-round again. So they are 6 myths about burnout, and there are many, many more. So if you'd like to hear a part 2, just comment below or send me an email at emma@defeatburnout.com. I love to hear from you to understand what support that you need to be that very best version of yourself, so that you don't burn out, or that you recover from burnout as quickly as possible. If you got value from this video, please do share it with anyone else that you think needs to hear this message. And I would be so appreciative if you could give it a like as well. See you on the next video.